So some injuries in the secondary.
Just a few.
How much has that impacted the defense, and how do you view that group moving forward?
Well, I've said this in the past. That's part of the game. This is one of the biggest challenges I've had in my years. But it is the next man up. As I've shared, I'm not going to shortchange what Bobo and Gunner and all these guys have done. But, the guys that stepped up really did a heck of a job. We had, if you look at it, great fourth down stop, offense goes 90-plus yards. We have two opportunities to make plays, okay, that if you look, would have taken close to 14 points off the board. Well, we're there to make a play. And now our offense can feed off of that because, we have a chance to make two plays on picks. One, they end up scoring points. The other one play later, they get the first down, and then they score a touchdown. These are all hidden plays within the course of a football game. And those are the plays we did make at Utah, and it was very similar in the Tech game. So we got to constantly just work on that, do a takeaway circuit, and we just got to keep pressing that as coaches. Players are buying in. I'm not sure. We're still working to see who we got, and whoever can go, we will play. One of the things is when you start getting to backup players, because in today's stage of practicing, it's not quite like back in the day. Nobody cared about legs or how many hours you can work in a given week. Now, what can your backups execute, in these shorter work weekends? So that's all part of the coaching aspect when you start losing some guys, and start plugging in who can play where. Because I've always been built, I think you've heard me say it before, I'm not tied into a depth chart, I'm tied into the next best player. And which is kind of a different philosophy than maybe some secondary coaches or defensive coaches or offensive coaches.
David? Obviously one of those guys, Coach, that was pressed in was Demetrius Frey. What do you like about his skill set and what potentially he could bring?
Well, he's a good athlete. He's learning. He was a quarterback in high school, very good athlete. So he's got good quickness, good speed. We still just got to keep learning the game. Some of the adjustments these guys did with the motions and all of that. So, but he's got a lot of upside. So he did a nice job for his first opportunity. I think they all did.
Brian? You kind of alluded to it about getting that practice time for backups and all that. And I guess in a situation like this where you're able to prepare for having a backup in there because someone is out. But what's the challenge when you have to put that guy in a game when Freeney comes in or Latrell comes in or Camus comes in? How much more of a challenge is that when they maybe didn't get a lot of reps?
Yeah. So, sometimes you got to cut back on what the initial game plan goes in. I think it's a little unrealistic. You're hopeful that you can keep the whole package going, but obviously Manu's got to get the majority of the reps, or Bobo's got to get the majority of the reps. I mean, that's where it's got to go. So then you got to just kind of get back, okay, Danny, what do you feel comfortable, with what we can do as we continue to grow? Because there'll be plays and a call that they may not got that play all week long, So it's one of the challenges, but that's why I always talk about you want to learn concepts, not just what the playbook says. You want to know how the whole defense is built. And some guys learn that maybe a little bit quicker than others. I got spoiled here. I think I've shared that before with you guys when I got here. The IQ of Stooks, Gunner, and Dalton and Manu, those inside pieces, was phenomenal. We got the stuff last year that we weren't able to get to in our early years at Texas or Stanford, which was, I thought, really unique. They spoiled me, But and we still demand the same out of the backup, and I lived that life myself as a backup player in college, so I understand those strains.
Jason?
You've coached a lot of TPs, obviously. Is there a way, like, Tucario is in the right position, really good corner, obviously, but the interceptions that are there that he's dropped, how frustrating is that for you and him? Is there a way, a path to improving that, you think? Or?
Yeah, I think you just really got to get on that jugs machine. You got to keep finding ways. I think you can improve in ball skills. A lot of that is just a natural gift. Guys have great ball skills. So that's why part of my evaluation in recruiting now is I do look for players that are offensive players. I have signed just wide receivers that show extremely quickness and great ball skills because those plays out there at the corner position are valuable plays. Plus, it helps you on your time clock on finding the ball. Like we found one, the really good ones can pick up the flight of the ball here. So when I'm talking to a recruit, hey, have you played baseball? So Earl Thomas, for example, yeah, I did. What position? Center field. Beautiful. Because, see, now all their lives they've been taking fly balls and seeing the ball come off the bat, and they start finding a landing spot when it's here. Some guys can't feel the angle until it's here. You know what I'm saying? So that's where you see a lot of guys here. What Earl could do was right from here, bang, because he knew where the reception there. And that's a gift, you know. So trying to feel that and continuing to work to get to your ball skills. I like guys that are punt returners. Once again, as I'm evaluating high school players, because now they see the flight of the ball up in the air. So part of that is a natural skill, but you can work on it, you know, and not only these footballs. That's why I hear a DB coach at times when I go watch and the ball's out here, and I'll hear him say, my fault, bad ball. No, because that's where they have to go catch the ball. You don't throw it at a DB right on his body. So there's all kind of little ways that us as coaches can work to develop that, but that's DB's job too, to work on those skills when nobody's watching in July and all of that.
Justin, how do you game plan against a guy like Travis Hunter, and what stands out to you when you look at his tape?
Yeah, he's a good player. So, you know, you gotta find ways to get two on him. You know, what we used to do was say, you know, like guys, like when I had Chris Mack, you talk about a natural, 22 interceptions in 3 years. That's phenomenal for a corner. That's just different. But sometimes you may try to match him with your best player. You know, maybe sometimes you want to bracket it to him, you know, but you want to find ways to not let their best player beat you. But, you know, when you start getting into that now, you're taking somebody out of the run game too. You know, when you start, one guy demands two. That's why I've always taught that football is a game of mathematics. A real hidden value that nobody really talks about is that nose guard that is so strong that demands the center and the guard. So now once one player demands two, that's what I call a twofer. When we used to have a grading system, that was worth 4 points, you know, much like a pass breakup was worth the same. So you're trying to, but you got to give him the respect that he deserves. He's a good player. The quarterback's going to look for him, rightfully so. And they have other weapons. That's what really helps him too. You know, they got other weapons that can go also, and the quarterback is, you know, he's an outstanding player. Plus his legs can force you to at times cover him twice, which makes it a little more exciting for you.
David? Coach Conley looked like a player last year who was kind of coming on and maybe in line for a bigger role this year, but Saturday was the first time he really played significantly. Where is he in his development, and what does he need to do to maybe be that player that we saw at the end of last year?
Yeah, well, he needs to just keep, you know, working with Manu. What we did with Manu is we moved him to that Mike Backer position that he plays. So he's backing up a great football player right there for us. So he just needs to just continue to build, and when his opportunities come like that, to be ready to go. Helps him to also play more than one position. And that's what we've kind of done with Manu is, you know, when it becomes next man up, if there's an injury, because Tay is really coming along too. So if something happens, if Kamo is at the Mike position, let's say the Tay goes down, now Manu, you put the pressure on the veteran to go learn more than one position. And you get the young guy just to learn one position. And then as his time goes on and, you know, he gets good at something, then, you know, let's go and start learning another position. So that was a good opportunity for him, you know, much like Manny coming in a tough environment and playing at a high level.
Jason?
Without giving away strategy, when you have guys that are injured, is it tempting to be a little more aggressive on defense just because maybe the coverage ability isn't the same, or terms of blitz.
So I should give you an answer that is opposite of what I'm thinking. You know, I think you got, I don't think you have just a built-in philosophy all the time. Maybe I did when I was an offensive coach, so I'll speak from the offensive side back in the day. I felt like if we were physically better than a team, we don't need bells and whistles. Let's just line up and just go play. I think if you're not as good, maybe you might have a reverse pass or something of that nature, you know, where you might need something. On the defensive side of the ball, we're kind of, you know, they kind of dictate what they're going to do what they do. They're going to throw the ball all over the yard. They're going to be in 10 personnel. And so we'll just see. First of all, we got to see who's going to be there. And then we'll kind of take it from there.
Last question, Justin.
So as a guy who's coached DBs for a while, what do you make of Deion Sanders, just his career and his path as a coach?
Yeah, Deion was a great player, you know, so I've known Deion for a while when Chris was there with him, and then when Deion was coaching in Dallas, you know, I used to go by his school. So I seen his son throw since I think he was in 9th grade is when I first went to go watch him, and the older one I think was a sophomore when he was coaching at one of the Dallas schools that he was at. I think he came down once when I was in Texas to come watch us practice, and he had a chance to visit with the boys. I got much respect for Deion. Great player. You know, he's doing a nice job, obviously. He's really built a brand there in Colorado, so it will be fun to see him again.
All right, that's our time.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. Yep.